Chapter 18. Crash! Suddenly, Evil Sulu grew to the size of a giant monster. He jumped out of the treehouse and landed in George's backyard with a terrible, thunderous crash. "What was that?" cried George's dad. Everyone jumped up and dashed outside to get a better look at the horrible creature that towered over the house, snarling and roaring hideously. For some strange reason, George and Harold's grandparents jumped up and dashed the fastest, faster than they had moved in years. But nobody really knows because of the giant hamster scene. "What's going on?" cried Harold. "Those evil guys must have followed us back to our own reality somehow," whispered George. "We've got to stop them before they take over our world." Sulu crashed and smashed his way through the neighborhood, heading toward the big city, because, well, that's where giant monsters usually head. George ran inside and grabbed a 3D hypno-ring of the superpower juice, which felt surprisingly empty, and whistled for crackers. And while the grown-ups were fussing and fretting over trivial things like broken fences, insurance policies, and property damage reports, George, Harold, and Crackers flew off to save the world. Chapter 19. When Hamsters Attack.com. Soon the three friends soared over the center of the city. There they met up with their beloved pet, Sulu, who was now a giant evil monster destroying everything in his path. "Well," said Harold, "it looks like you and I are going to have to drink that superpower juice so we can stop giant evil Sulu from wrecking the city." Harold," eyed George as he eyed the carton of superpower juice suspiciously. "I'm so psyched," said Harold. "I've always wanted to have superpowers." Harold," said George again, as he held the carton to his ear and shook it back and forth. "I hope I get Kung Fu grip and X-ray vision," said Harold. "That would be awesome!" Harold!" shouted George as he turned the superpower juice carton upside down. "There's nothing left." "What do you mean?" cried Harold. "There was like a third of a carton in there 20 minutes ago." "Well, it's gone now," said George. "It must have evaporated or something." The boys watched helplessly as giant evil Sulu continued thrashing the city. "Well," said George, "I guess there's just one thing left to do." Hurriedly, the three friends flew to the house of their principal, Mr. Krupp. It was easy to find, since it was the only house on Curmudgeon Boulevard that was covered in toilet paper. "Next time we've got to use single-ply toilet paper," said George. "We'll get better coverage." After a quick knock on the door, and an even quicker snap of the fingers, Mr. Krupp transformed into the amazing Captain Underpants. And in no time at all, the world's greatest, baldest superhero was face to face with the world's biggest, baddest bionic hamster. Chapter 20. The Incredibly Graphic Violence Chapter, Part 1 in Flip-O-Rama. TM. Back in the olden days, incredibly graphic violence was believed to be harmful, dangerous, and even immoral. But now it's fun for the whole family, thanks to the science of Flip-O-Rama. Introducing Flip-O-Rama, Pilkyar brand. Here's how it works. Step 1. First, place your left hand inside the dotted lines marked left hand here. Hold the book open flat. Step 2. Grasp the right hand page with your right thumb and index finger. Inside the dotted lines mark the right thumb here. Step 3. Now quickly flip the right hand page back and forth until the picture appears to be animated. For extra fun, try adding your own sound effects. Flip-O-Rama 1, pages 115 and 117. Remember, flip only page 115. While you are flipping, be sure you can see the picture on page 115 and the one on page 117. If you flip quickly, the two pictures will start to look like one animated picture. Don't forget to add your own sound effects. Hamster Havoc. Flip-O-Rama 2, pages 119 and 121. Remember, flip only page 119. While you are flipping, be sure you can see the picture on page 119 and the one on page 121. If you flip quickly, the two pictures will start to look like one animated picture. Don't forget to add your own sound effects. Put your head on my boulder. Chapter 21, The Anti-Climatic Chapter. The battle between man and beast was over. George and Harold petted Sulu's giant face and breathed a sigh of relief. "He'll be okay," said George. "He just got knocked out." "Great," said Harold. "It looks like all of our problems are over." "Not so fast," said a voice that came from somewhere on the lower right-hand corner of the next page. It was Evil George, along with Evil Harold and the ultra-evil Captain Blunderpants. The terrible tree had been busy working on the preposterous plight, which is just a fancy way of saying that they were busy robbing a bank. "Somebody's been messing with our giant attack hamster," said Evil Harold. "I think we need to teach those goody-goodies a lesson." "And I'm just the guy to do it," said Captain Blunderpants proudly. Instantly, the mood shifted. Everyone stood back. The air crackled with tension. The showdown of the century was about to begin. Captain Underpants would soon engage in a historic battle with his evil twin. Never before had our brave hero encountered an enemy who was so powerful. Pound for pound, superpower for superpower, Captain Underpants was pitted against his equal. He had met his match. It was to be the ultimate smackdown, an all-out war, the brawl to end all brawls, the definitive clash between good and evil, a momentous confrontation of the most critical snap. George snapped his fingers, and suddenly the horrifyingly evil Captain Blunderpants transformed into a friendly elementary school principal. "Oh, man!" cried Evil George and Evil Harold. "We read your comic book back in Chapter 8, said Harold. "Did you think we wouldn't remember how to turn your evil supervillain back into a harmless principal?" George and Harold quickly found some rope and tied up Evil George, Evil Harold, and nice Mr. Krupp. "We're taking you loose back to your own reality where you won't bother us ever again," said George. "All we have to do is dehypnotize and shrink Sulu, and our job will be done," said Harold. "Nothing can possibly go wrong now." "You know, you really shouldn't say things like that," said George. "Why?" said Harold.